a rare morning stream in the middle of the week. That's because it is Labor Day here in the United States. So, hope many of you are getting some rest. I surely am. With everything that is going on between all the craziness socially and then all the disease going around, yeah, I needed a day. Don't know about you, but I needed a day. So I did some thinking and said, okay, what do I want to do for 2020 season four? So I have in front of you a template. So you'll note at the top there's some days. On the left hand column, you'll see the categories. So one of the first things to notice is Friday I left completely blank. And the reason for that is at the end of my work week, I'm normally pretty tired. So I left that open. And the other thing to note is on Saturdays and Sundays, not every slot is open. We do have that wonderful thing called life, and therefore I will be enjoying life. So sometimes I won't stream on a Saturday and or Sunday just because I need to take care of adult things or do other things that are outside of the house. And this is my first fall here in Middle Tennessee, so I'm really looking forward to it. So look at this as a concept more than canon, and that'll be the best way to understand it. So I've decided on the two series I'm really going to be focused on: the Spec Racing Ford and the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship in the GT3 category. Those are going to be the two biggies, and then endurance racing in most cases the GT3, and other content to kind of fill in the gaps. And we have some good offerings coming up. So there's going to be a lot of racing on the channel. But basically, there's going to be a lot of practice, which you won't um, see all of it. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But basically, on Monday and Wednesday, there will be Spec Racing Ford will be the focus. On Tuesday and Thursday, it will be the GT3. As of right now, it's still the Merc. With the new update coming, I'll be very curious to see what gets changed. And as you'll see below, there is a possible candidate to be switched if the performance on the Merc goes, in essence, the wrong direction. So, as you see, there's plenty of other opportunity for other content. And there's also an Enduro category, which is greater than or equal to 90 minutes. So, the idea during the week is to get hopefully two races out of the primary divisions, and then the other content will fill in the gaps as you'll see below. So there's a lot scheduled. I'm looking forward to it. I do have some plans on upgrading some things. I need to get a little bit more rigidity in my setup. My current setup is not so rigid, but I need a little bit stiffer stuff. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of investment that's required between equipment, track purchases, things of that nature. So this will start off next week. We have a week 14 in season three. So this week is kind of the fun week. So I don't know between that and my work schedule. Being an IT person, 4-day work weeks are not so fun for us because we still have a bunch to do, but now we feel like we have even less time to do it. So, some things to kind of put on the radar. The first thing is the Bathurst 1000 kilometers, and that is the weekend of the 24th through the 27th of September. That requires purchase of a VA supercar. It looks like it's going to be the Ford Mustang. And there are some preliminary discussions with a group that I'm associated with to be a 3-driver effort for that. So that equates to roughly 60 laps. So that should be 2 stints, I would believe, in that car. But yeah, the first endurance race of length and have it be Bathurst. I mean, talk about jumping off the deep end. But we're looking forward to it. And then immediately following, as in it looks like 1 week after, you have the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. Now, if memory serves, that's a 10-hour race around Road Atlanta. So you definitely will need 3 drivers for that. I may ask for 4 because it is Road Atlanta. You are physically grinding out some laps around there because the road is always moving. Great place to race. But yes, hopefully, if it's a team of 4 for that, it now becomes a little bit more manageable. Looking to drive the GT3 in that event. And then kind of the last big one is the actual VRS GT Endurance Series. So these are 3-hour races. You must have a teammate to do this. Jimmy did this with Phil recently around Catalunya, if memory serves. These are 3-hour races and they're every weekend. So notice I put the GMT. So here in Nashville, we are currently 5 hours behind. Now, when the time changes, I think we go to 6 behind. So both of these times work very well for the time zone I sit in. So definitely looking to race that series often. And so, as you see, there is a heavy skew to GT3. You'll be seeing that a lot on the channel just because Petit Le Mans and VRS, they have GT3 categories. So I want to talk briefly about some of the other content that I'm going to look at. And that other content, when you look up, you'll note that on Monday and Wednesday, and then on the weekends, I have some other content. Notice I didn't do that on Tuesday and Thursday because I'm using that as dedicated practice for GT3 because I'm going to have to spend a lot of time improving myself in that car. Just look at everything that we're going to be doing. And that's why the Spec Racing Ford is so important. It's not only the change of pace, it's a great car to drive, but one of the things that that car is showing me is when it is driven correctly, how rewarding it is. And there's something very pure about that car with me. And I'm really liking it. So, and the other part is when I transferred to the GT3, I did a practice session after I did a Spec Racing Ford race, and this is around the Roval, and was over a second faster out of the box. So that's part of the reason why the Spec Racing Ford is staying on my calendar, and the other part of it is not only is it a good training tool, but there isn't that much content right now being made on the Spec Racing Ford. The Skippies seem to be very popular. From what I understand, the Skippies are every hour. The Spec Racing Fords are every other hour, and I think that is a big minus. I wish they did it every hour. I think more and more people would use this as the stepping stone. And I'm really happy that someone mentioned it to me, because I think coming out of rookies, you go into Spec Racing Ford, you do a season or two of it. Now, when you jump up to a GT4, the jump is much less than what I did, which was go straight to GT4 and go, why am I struggling? And that was because this innocent little car with a 105 horsepower engine and a chassis that's incredibly tail happy wasn't mentioned early on. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to bringing both of these cars. So, other content to explore. The first one is the brand new Touring Car Challenge. So, this is a 15-minute with the Audi RS3 LMS. Now, I believe this is similar to GT4 spec, if memory serves. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. I know you will. But as I remember it, the RS3 is a GT4 equivalent for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. So now what has happened is you now have the BMW 12.0 Challenge, and you have this. And so, as you'll see below, I've made a decision about the 12.0 Challenge. But now you still have this, and a lot of the good drivers were commenting, "Oh, I'd be interested in drive that." Then they find out it's only a D license to get in, and we'll see. So there's an exploration to be done. We'll see if I do it or not. Just because it may be one of those where I may not choose to do it. The other two, I'm definitely more keen, and that's the return of the Ferrari GT3 Fixed. That is I believe, a 15-minute race as well, if memory serves. Matter of fact, I have the calendar right here. That's where I keep it up. And yes, 15 minutes. And the reason why this one has much more interest with me is I think what is going to happen is the Ferrari GT3 Fix is going to get a lot of people interested. And what may suffer is the BMW 12-minute challenge. That, and the other that may suffer is the Michelin Pilot Challenge, just because this is every hour. It's at 15 minutes past the hour, so it doesn't clash too much with other things. And the last time they ran this, it was very popular. And so, yes, I suspect that the BMW challenge is going to take a big hit, because now people have options. And I'll be very curious to see how attendance is. I may be wrong on this, but I just have a feeling because the Ferrari is back, you're going to see a lot of people get into the 6 Series. Once they get their C license, they already have a GT3 car. And I haven't seen in the splits I've drove in a lot of Ferraris. So take that for what it is. We'll see how that plays out. And then lastly, the advanced Mazda. So I like the Mazda. I have commented I like the Mazda. It is rewarding to drive. And the reason why I'm looking at the advanced is I still want to drive the car. But the other part of it is I needed something to fill in for some of the other decisions I've made. So don't be surprised if you see some advanced Mazda. That is an open setup car. And I think the racing will be really good with that. So now let's look at the excluded series. These are the series that I will not participate in the near future. The very first one is right in front of you, the Production Car Challenge. The Advanced Mazda will substitute for this. And the reason is going to be the same reason as the BMW 12.0 Challenge. Looking at my results, I have lost a large amount of I rating and the most safety rating in these two categories. And the reason for that is different for each, but it still nets to be the same. The Production Car Challenge. So, the Production Car Challenge is a great concept. I like the concept. It is an introduction to multi-class racing. You take your Mazda that you just got out of rookie, and now you put it on track with the Jettas, which is now, I believe, a free car for season 4. You have the Solstices, which you have a few that will drive the Pontiac around. You have a Mustang, and then you have your Mazdas. The problem is a lot of people, because they are not experienced enough, they get themselves in situations that more experienced drivers don't put themselves in. And this series has had a wide range of emotions. And in the general program, it is not going to help my development that much. If anything, it's going to increase my frustration because you're seeing a lot of people who they're learning, they're trying, they may not have the motorsports experience that I have. And now they're on a track with 24 cars, and that is a lot to take in, even though it's a, for the most part, 25-minute event. It's very difficult. A lot of them come into that and they're not prepared. They haven't done their homework in terms of practice, in terms of realizing, yes, you will have to have a pit stop. Most of them don't realize that if you are in a good position, take off your tires, just put fuel in the car and get on with it. Plus, all the struggles that new drivers have with learning how to drive quickly and competently. And I just don't need that frustration. To give you an idea, the net I rating that I have lost off of production car is somewhere in the neighborhood of minus 160. Now realize I didn't do a full season 3 because I signed on to the service slate. But just in the time I've been on, which is a month, I've lost 160 I rating in this series alone. Segueing into the BMW is north of 225 I rating lost. The BMW 12.0 series is a great idea. The problem is it is way too much car at 430 brake horsepower for a newly minted rookie to be able to go buy the car, and you happen to have a track, and what happens is they don't do enough practice in this car, and you see it in a lot of different videos out on YouTube. You see it all the time. And Road America really reinforced this. I have been to Road America in real life. I went to the IndyCar race not that long ago. And the thing about Road America is you must be precise on your braking points because you are carrying a lot of speed. Going through the carousel, the kink, Canada corner, turn 1, and turn 5. You better have your wits about you. And it's a proper road course. You could tell who was with it and who was not. And far too often, what would happen is you have the fast racers who have the higher I ratings, they have the A and B licenses, they have experience. Someone like myself doesn't have a lot of experience, and you get taken out, you get run into. This is not a series that a new de-licensed driver should consider as an automatic. And I think the Touring Car Challenge is going to reinforce this point because there is such a big jump in performance from a Mazda to both the Audi and this Beamer. The M4 GT4 itself is a great car. When you get with people that are competent and they know what they're doing, it makes for great racing. The issue is with this event, unlike the Michelin Pilot Challenge, most people are looking at this as we're going to go hell-bent for leather because we have 12 minutes. And so the aggression level is too high. This is a rating killer if you are not in the top third of your qualifying group. And right now, I don't have that pace. I have great safety rating. What is my safety rating? Let me look this up. I am at a C rating 3.5, but my I rating is a lot lower than it should be. And most of the time, it's because I'm getting taken out, and now I have to drop back, get the car repairs, do the tows. The rest is history. And so that leads to the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and there's a question mark of, am I going to exclude this series? And the reason why there's a question mark is when you go from the Spec Racing Ford to the GT3, that is a very big jump. But when you go from the Spec Racing Ford to the GT4, the jump, while still big, is more manageable. And it's a little bit easier. And I think the same thing is going to be said with the RS3. I think it's going to be a little bit easier. Now, to me, I think part of the reason why that this is happening is they want this pilot challenge to get more attendance. GT3 is wildly popular. So it makes sense for them to now have two different GT4 series and to funnel people into this pilot challenge in trying to build up that particular championship. So there's a question mark. I noticed in my competitions, the skill level in GT4 has a little bit less variance to it, but it's also a little bit higher than in GT3, where I found players at my I rating and I went from 12th to 7th just by trying to keep out of trouble. So the pilot challenge needs more people in it to get the correct variance, because here's the thing: if you get more variance, you have a good race, your I rating not only takes the increase, your safety rating takes the increase, but keep in mind that's the buy-in to keep doing it. You want to have some tangible measure of success. Currently, I think for anyone who is 1500 I rating and low, that may be a difficulty here in the pilot challenge. So, but for sure, yeah, the production car challenge you're not going to see on this channel. The BMW 12.0 challenge you're not going to see on this channel, partly because I want to see how the Audi one goes in terms of aggressiveness. It may be similar. I'm not optimistic. But yeah, pilot challenge is definitely a question mark. So here's the things to overcome. So this is where I want to make sure I set expectations. The big one is spec racing forward and the IMSA sports car run at the same time. Every other hour, that means you always have to choose one or the other. So your filler series are going to be important. And that's why the new Touring Car Challenge, the Ferrari GT3 Fix, which really has my attention, will act as wonderful fillers to that. Same thing for Advanced Mazda. That's why Advanced Mazda is attractive, because they run every hour. But the next one is definitely pause for thought. Both the Ferrari returning, you're going to have a lot of argy-bargy, as in a lot of collisions, because you still have the D license minimum. You've changed the cars, but I don't think you've changed the drivers. So it's one of those where it's like, okay, do I invest in, first of all, getting the car, because I don't own either of these cars, and now I get the same end result as I got with the BMW 12-minute challenge, and you're like, okay, why am I doing this in the first place? So that is a big question mark, because confidence is the best skill improver you can have, and I do have some question marks. And the last one is very important for any situation, and that is balancing work versus life. And self-care is becoming an important matter to me. So I want to share a little bit here, not too much. It is the internet after all. So, as you know, I reside here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm an IT person. I do a lot of work for my company. Right now, my company is in the process of major infrastructure projects and improvements, and we are affected by the headwinds of COVID, just like everyone else. And so that's why part of the reason you saw Friday open is that realization of, sometimes I just need to disconnect. Sundays, I tend to take that day of rest thing very seriously, so that may happen too. So self care is very important. Um, I am an extrovert, so not seeing a lot of people has really, it's been a bummer. It's been a bummer. And, my loved ones are in Florida and I miss them. But as long as this COVID thing is out in circulation. Yeah, I'm in a higher risk category. I have type 2 diabetes, and I do manage it, thankfully, with just a metformin pill every day. But yeah, I need to lose some weight, and that will help me with endurance racing and also with my disc golf. So I cannot stress this enough to anyone out there. Take care of yourself. It is okay to say, no, I'm not able to. Not when you're gave out, not when you're wore out. It's okay. And I'm realizing that for myself. And so let's talk for some conclusions. So you're going to get a lot of racing. Spec Racing 4 and GT3, for sure, you're going to see them a lot. The hourly races of the Ferrari GT3 and the touring cars, they'll act as transition material. Keep in mind that may be contingent to change. Depends on how those events go. I expect week one of those two events to be absolutely bat crazy. Like, you can quote me on that. It's going to be nuts. Secondly, is the realization endurance racing is hard. It will probably need more prep work. So expect the calendar adjusts a little bit. The IMSA events are normally 45 minutes. So you figure you get 4 of them a week. If you get a 5th one in that week, iRacing takes your top 2 finishes, average it, and that's your championship points for the week. And those are things I'm trying to keep in mind. So workload management, very important, because there's going to be a lot of practice. Practice, practice, and more practice. So here's the goals. First, I want to increase my iRating by 400 points. Now, 400 points in a 12-week span, basically, just say 35 points a week. That's it. That's all you need. 35 points a week, and you will easily get, in a 12-week period, 400 points. So 35 points a week is 420 points. So keep that in mind. So a net of 35 points a week. You can get that by having more good races than bad, and now you're just living off the residuals. Secondly, maintain the C license and preferably get the B license on merit promotion. So I'm at 3.5. If you get a 4, you get a B. You get the next 4, and that's an A. And once you get your A, you no longer have race participation requirements. You can race anything you want. It does you don't need it because you've hit the top license, and now you just maintain your A license and you're golden. Now, the thing about the A license, the only thing of note for me about the A license is your endurance races go from 3 hours to 6. That's the benefit. Now, you get to race some other cars, mind you, but for me specifically, with my focus, it's the increase. So definitely to keep continuing driving in a safe manner, looking around at other streams, other content. I'm going to give a shout out to a few. Ever McLean Racing, he and I have struck up an acquaintance. I've been commenting on his GT4 videos. See his latest one, and you'll see why I'm not driving that series. iRating killer. That's all I got to say. His iRating right now, because he's just been getting beat up, he's probably losing his A license and going back down to B. That's what it looks like. Juan Bustamante, he streams on Twitch. You see him on the Twitch clips. He's probably losing his A license. And of course, Dave Cam, all I got to say is watch his Terra Sakuba video, the edited version. And yours truly, I did the job. This put it at timestamp about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Enjoy. That's all I'm going to say. Had the Gulf colors on the Mazda. And there's another one where I tried to tail whip Dave, and I got the net code saying I hit him, but when you look at the replay, I missed him and completely face planted into a wall. That was funny. So yeah, watch that, and hey, your boy did the work. That's all I gotta say. He did his job. But lastly, compete for victories. So this is going to be more probably on the Spec Racing 4 side, but also for GT3, it's a mindset. I've driven safely. I have some capital, so to speak. So when I get myself into position, go for it. Knowing I have that buffer and safety rating that I've carefully nurtured and have saved up. Keep in mind, I see a lot of guys that have, 3,000 I rating, and they're still a D license because their safety rating is not good. It's just not good. So I want to make sure when I'm in position, compete and compete for victories. Yesterday I did an SRF race, and I was really proud how I handled that situation. That was a tough race. It really reinforced to me the fact that this is what I signed up for with iRacing, is compete. And I have that outlet. And so I got a top 5 finish out of that. And it's only because I stayed at it. But I started 4th. And at the end of 2 laps, I was 3rd. And the racing was very, very tough. And I did put the video up on YouTube so you can watch it. But it was wild. And that's, if I get to feel that way, then that's what I'm after. Is that excitement. Because I had to drive back from 7th to get into the top 5. And what happened was I had resigned myself to that. Well, I passed a guy in 6th place wrecked. So, yeah. And I look at my championship results, and I got the last 4 races, 4 of the 10 races, in terms of championship points. I've been scoring points. Now, I just had a look. I am in Division 8 right now. I'm at least 2 divisions too low, and it's really 3. In my division, the 25th person has 144 points right now. I am not that far off from the top 25. Not that far off. Yeah, 144, and what I'm looking at is where I'm lining up. So yeah, I'm not seeing myself on here, but I may be looking at this wrong. But yeah, these are things that. Okay, so I found myself. Right now, I am 11th in my club. So I'm part of the Florida club, even though I live in Tennessee. But they haven't added my points yet. But the person who is leading my club is at 385, and he's done 9 weeks. So he's averaging just over 40. Averaging just over 40. And the person who's leading has drove 9 weeks, has made 69 starts in this class in Division 8. He's at 594 points. He's a Class C driver, and he's at 2.98. Then the next, there's 2 Bs, there's 2 Cs, there's a B. The first D shows up, and that's George Jansen. He's a 2.33 D driver. So he's a little low on the safety rating. And so these are some of the things I'm looking at is compete. But Spec Racing Ford has given me that, and I think GT3 is going to give me that with the practice. So anyway, that is going to be it. This will be the only stream today, just because of the simple fact that it's Labor Day. I'm going to relax a little bit. I am not going to be racing officially today. I'm going to consolidate what I've earned. It's fun week. We're going to have some frivolity, and start doing the practice for next week's opener. So let me show you where we're at for next week's opener. So let me go back up to the top, and we're going to skip that. So for the Audi, it's at Lime Rock. Great decision. Lots of people are interested. Then you have Laguna. Don't know about Alton Park yet and Okayama. So that may be 4 free tracks. If not 4, it's 3 of the 4. You're going to get a lot of interest in that. So iRacing got that right big time. GT3 Challenge, Brands Hatch, but the Indy layout, so it's accessible. But then you have Summit, Suzuka, Alton Park, and Tsukuba, and Laguna Seca to start. So they're definitely going to keep the interest high. The problem with Brands Hatch is I don't think it lines up with my C schedule very well. So we'll see how that plays out. For Spec Racing Ford, we have Summit Point, free content. I expect all the fast people to show up to that. Mid-Ohio. So Mid-Ohio does not line up anywhere else in my proposed series. So I would be buying a track I'm only using for a week. So that might end up being a drop week. We don't know. But then you have Imola, and you have the Legacy Road Course. And then you have Gilles Villeneuve. I have to see where that lines up at. And then so on and so forth. So, but because I'm going to be racing this, I may just bite the bullet in Mid-Ohio, even though I don't want to. Now, if we go over to C license, so we'll ignore the pilot challenge because we're probably not going to do that. The MX-5 Advanced Mazda, the Nordschleife, and Summit Point, you can see why I'm interested in this. Good way to start the season. Keep in mind you need 4 C races plus the safety rating of 4 to get the promote. You can see why I'm curious. So good start to that. The only reason why I mentioned supercars is Bathurst. So that's also one of the other issues is money constraints. There are some purchases that have to be done. a lot of purchases. So for the sports car, we start with Monza, go to Suzuka, you have Road Atlanta, which is the week leading up to Petit Le Mans, and then you have Coda. So definitely rock 'em sock 'em on that one. And then you have the Endurance Series. We start at Catalunya. Then you have Brands Hatch, so there is some crossover from the Audi. If you buy Brands Hatch, you get this. Then you have Okayama, Interlagos, and Zandvoort. So there's some purchases to be made, and it's going to have to be budgeted and planned for. So, yeah, a lot of exciting times for the channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends. You can watch the replays on YouTube, same channel name, All About the Gyro. So with that, take care, everybody. Have a great day out there, and let's get excited for the next season.